Welcome to this edition of Property Pilots. I'm Tom, and this is
Mike Ernest.
Mike. And today we're going to talk about 37 and get some updates from some people who actually know what's going on. So we have Hatem from the City of Fishers, and we have Keriann from 37 Thrives. So I'm going to let them do a quick introduction so we get their credentials out of the way, and then we're going to ask some questions. So go right ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hatem Meki, Assistant Director of Engineering. I am the project manager for Stay Over 37. I've been the project manager for about almost 4 years. I started with the City of Fishers in late 2017. Fun fact, before that I was at a consultant, the lead consultant for this project, and I was actually involved in designing the first two interchanges, which was 126 and 131st.
Very good.
I'm Keriann Rich. My company is Honest Digital. We were contracted by the City of Fishers back in 2018 to be the marketing partner for the project. So our role has been throughout this time to be an advocate for the businesses. So we communicate with the businesses in the corridor very frequently. And then we created the 37 Thrives campaign website and all the advertising and outreach that happens throughout the duration of the project.
All right, so you know the end. You know
Yeah,
the skin.
yeah.
Okay, good deal.
So hopefully when, I hear from businesses, our role is to kind of soften the edge of the construction process and help everybody, get through it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's probably a good starting off point, the 37 Thrives. Kudos to you and your team for what's been done, because even before I think we broke ground, that was already being pushed out, and the community was brought in, local businesses were brought in, and it just felt like a very collaborative effort overall.
Yeah.
And it's been a great tool, I think, to keep the community updated along the way on what's going on.
Right.
For sure. Yeah, I think it was really great, the City of Fishers and the county to just recognize that, we can do this for the businesses and really help them throughout the process. So it's kind of a unique thing that we had this opportunity. So I think it's made a really big difference.
Yeah, I think so too.
Very good. All right, so we're going to ask a few questions that people ask us about. So we're going to ask you. So probably one of the biggest question we get is when. So when are some milestones going to happen? What are the slated, the upcoming project dates and things of that nature? I know we were on the website and checking out with the next release. I don't say releases, but we're going to close this intersection, do that. So we were looking at those, but why don't you give us a little fill in on what you see coming down in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and then maybe an overview of when the project's going to be done.
Perfect. Well, the project as a whole is kind of broken down to five sections. The first section was the drainage package that we had for all of the intersections. Those were two long lines. One was to drain the southern interchanges, which was 126 and 131st. The north one is to drain, obviously, 141st and 146th Street. So those are completed. They both started in 2018, and they were completed in early of 2020. We then, after we were done with those, we started with the intersections. We started with 126 first, which that is currently completed and is open for traffic. We started that in middle of 2019. We were done in 2020 with that intersection. And then after that, we went up to 146th Street. We started that in 2020, and we're hoping that would be done here in this summer. We then went for the ones in the middle, 131st and 135th. And they're currently in construction along with 146th Street, and we're anticipating those to actually finish at the same time as 146th Street. The upcoming last interchange in this package is 141st Street. We're working through a lot of the utility relocations right now in the intersection, and we're hoping that we can break ground on 141st Street in approximately couple of months, so we're shooting for May, June.
Sure.
At the same time frame where 131st, 135th is going to be finalized.
So we'll be completing two intersections, but then starting another
yes.
one there.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll be done 126, obviously, 131st, 135th, and 146 will probably be on tapering down at the final stages of construction. and then we'll start with 141st. You'll see a couple of utilities out there right now just doing a couple of relocations. We still have about a handful more that are going to do some relocations, and after that you'll see the contractor move in and start the construction.
Yeah, and we were just talking off camera about the overall scope of the project. You know, in the next 3 to 5 months, I guess, give or take, there's going to be this huge push forward to get especially 146th Street done, and it's going to make the overall feel of that project really accelerate from where we're at now to wow, we're almost done. There's going to be a big needle change there.
Once 126 was done, and I don't notice the traffic being horrendous going back and forth over 126. But now, when you open up those others, that's going to really open things up. So
yeah, and I think anyone who commutes north or south on 37 during rush hour.
Yeah.
Thanks you for 126th Street.
Well, that's great. We obviously the main reason to do this was to facilitate the travel from I-69 all the way north to Noblesville and beyond.
Right.
So I think everybody felt the traffic kind of ease up a little bit on I-69 once 126th Street started.
Yeah.
We barely see any backups to I-69.
It used to go all the way past Top Golf and beyond.
It used to pass all the way down, maybe reach 106th Street interchange.
Yeah.
So we've seen that kind of taper off a lot once 126 was done. And now with 131st, 135th, and 146, with those being free flow, you don't stop at all, in these intersections. And hopefully when 141st signal light goes out, it'll just continuously be free flow for people going through and going to Noblesville. So we're hoping that that's going to be a big commodity to the people of Fishers and Noblesville in the county as well.
I believe so.
Yeah.
bonus Noblesville question. So you mentioned, you kind of referenced north of the Fishers area.
Mm-hmm.
Without any commitment, is there intentions or talks or studies being done to move this up further through Noblesville, up through 191st and beyond?
Yes, there's actually currently, this is considered the south package of 37. There's the north package that goes through Noblesville. There is currently a study right now that Noblesville is working on to continue these projects going north that will go and transform a lot of these signalized intersections in Noblesville to a similar situation that we have here in Fishers, and there's a portion of it in Noblesville as well, 141st, and also the county on 146. So there is intention to take this plan all the way north through Noblesville and continue north to where it ties down with the 2 lanes of 37.
Yeah. Wow, that'd be
amazing.
to literally be able to go through Fishers and Noblesville
Yeah.
without having to hit your brake one time is amazing.
Right.
And it really makes me think back to, we were talking earlier about the Keystone Project.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of that in Noblesville's future. I think about how Westfield was transformed as a result of that, and how it became so much easier to access Westfield. The same thing I think is going to happen with Noblesville now. It's going to, I think, do tremendous things for the area.
Yeah, before 31 was done, it used to take me over 40 minutes just to go all the way past.
Yeah.
I think just south of Grand Park, all of those lights, it's just
It was
amazing.
It was
how quick-
horrendous. I remember quite well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Keriann, let me ask you from a business impact standpoint. We feel like this is going to be, or Mike and I's perception on this is that it's going to be a positive impact on housing, access to housing, and then to the businesses. But tell us what your thoughts are.
Yeah. When we started the marketing piece of the project, the very first initiative was we started a business stakeholder group. So since 2018, we've hosted monthly meetings with our business stakeholders, just so that they have an inside path of knowing what's going on, and then also so that we can just kind of keep tap on like what they're feeling and some, kind of throughout the project.
And when you say business stakeholder, is that like a selected group of business owners that kind of like a roundtable talk?
Yeah.
What's
So
that mean?
It essentially, we send out, at the beginning of the project, we didn't have, kind of a master list of every business within the
Right.
corridor. So we went a little retro and sent out a letter and let everybody know how they could be a part of this group. And so it's really kind of who wants to be involved is getting involved. And so we've seen that, kind of transition throughout the project and the intersections. And so, in the beginning, 126th Street, all of those businesses were really active. And it made a huge impact. And so some of the things that, we learned from those groups, the city helped us, enable like having wayfinding signs that maybe wouldn't be passed in the past,
I gotcha.
Can be, so that directional and things like that. So it's been a great opportunity for the businesses. And so we have about 250 people on our business stakeholder list. And what it's really evolved to over the years is kind of more of a one-to-one experience now. Like we still have our group meetings, we still have participation, but we also have those businesses like reaching out to me and asking, hey, I saw this happening, like, can you get me some more information? Or this happened, is it construction related? And so Hatem and I are able to be kind of that power team of, I can give him a call and say, hey, somebody's reaching out to me about this, can we get somebody to help them? So I think that's been a really big deal for the businesses because they just have a lifeline. And they know that, I'm advocating for them with Hatem and his team. And so we're able to troubleshoot and just, give them that baseline information ahead of the public. And I think that makes a big deal. If you know what's happening, it hurts less. So.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that was a very smart decision to do that from the get-go.
Yeah.
Bring them in, give them, just like you said, more than anything, a lifeline. Give them a point of contact that they can go to with their questions and concerns. So,
yeah. So I think from a impact standpoint, we're not hearing the kind of sky is falling feedback. What we're hearing is we know this is worth it. So we're knowing what's happening, we're going to tolerate it, and we're all going to benefit from it when it's done.
Yeah,
and we to Keriann's point, we did have some sort of a GIS area where it was from the trail all the way to Cumberland that encompassed all of the businesses in that area from 126 all the way up to 146 and maybe even a little bit north, because all of those are businesses on the sides in addition to a couple of residents, little communities here and there. We did go further east and west. We did go to the YMCA because we knew that is a direct connection to their facility. So we worked with them and got them their own wayfinding sign. We told them what's going to happen, when's going to happen. We gave them an exhibit that they can put it in their facility and also send it to all of their patrons. So that helped out there. We worked with the schools a lot because a lot of those are bus routes. So we give them the time before we close any roads to make their adjustments and give them exhibits along with some information if they want. And Keriann, to give her she has my personal phone number and my work phone number. So if she gets anything, she gets to contact me. And luckily for me, I live close by, so it's easy for me to go and address something really quickly.
Good. This question from Mike and I is important. What do we think the speed limit is going to be? Mike and I we're looking at 70, 75. Is that are we on the right?
I mean, you could go 80. And I think our police department is going to love it.
The city of Fisher will appreciate the extra funding.
You'll be funding a lot of our other activities.
We'll be funding the police ball next year.
Just so everyone knows, from the beginning of the project, we decided to go with 45 miles per hour during construction from 126 all the way up to the limits of 146, which is just a little bit north of 146 and 37, just for everyone's safety, for the driver's safety and for the contractor's safety as well, because it doesn't help when you have, let's say when we started with 126, we can say that this area here is 45, but then you get to 55, but then we have work on 146, so then they go down to 45, so no one knows exactly what's going on. So it was easier and more safer for us to have it 45 all the way through from 126 all the way to 146. And the speed limit is going to return to normal before all this happened, which I believe was 55 miles per hour after everything is done.
Okay. Yeah, and to that point about worker safety, that's obviously paramount. As someone who travels that corridor every day, I've been pleased to see that I think most drivers that I've seen, everyone is doing the right thing, abiding by the speed limit. You obviously always have a few offenders here and there, but no, I think everyone is working together as a community to ensure that the workers out there are as safe as possible.
They're just doing their job. We got to give them the chance. So okay, 37's been open the whole time, which has been awesome. How difficult, or was there consideration of shutting down for a period of time to get it done? Was that part of the thought process, or and everybody said no, we got to keep it going, or what happened?
So the intention of doing a big project like this is going through the value engineering of a lot of this maintenance of traffic. I guess the maintenance of traffic schemes that we go with. Either we close the whole thing down for a year, and then we can build it. We can build it quicker. We can build it cheaper. But what's that going to do to the businesses? What's that going to do to the residents? Some people, this is the only access to their business. So if we cut this off, that's it.
Right.
And then even if we do decide to take that route, then our local roads are going to get overused. They're not built for that. So that means we have to go and do some upgrades on the other roads as well. So that's more cost on us. So then we went through the route of because when we started the project, to Keriann's point, the commissioners and the mayor were looking at the businesses just in the beginning. Okay, we want this to help the businesses, so it doesn't make sense to close it down and affect these businesses on the long term. And as we all know, you put a schedule for the contractor for constructions, there's unforeseen things that happen, that it may go over, may go under. We don't want to take that chance and affect someone's livelihood. So the intent was, we're going to go ahead and keep 2 lanes in each direction, which is currently what 37 was, 2 lanes in each direction, and have that maintained throughout the whole project. Now the access to the side streets, 126, 131st, and so on, can be affected because we have detour routes, which you can use 37 to go up to 131st and come down to 126. So that was easier for us to do, even though it did cost us a little bit extra to do that. But in the end game, it's more beneficial for the businesses to go down that route. So it was an easy decision for us, is whether we close it down, we affect all the businesses, or you maintain 2 lanes in each direction and not affect the businesses at all.
Fun facts. It's kind of a little bit of off track here, but what are maybe 3, 4, 5 fun facts that if we were on the website we wouldn't know? And one of them we talked about was the tunneling process. So what are 2 or 3 things that we've found through this process that are interesting that people might like to know about?
I guess one fun fact is both of the drainage lines, they're almost 20-30 feet deep down in the ground. So no one really sees them, no one knows that they're there, but obviously when we made the decision to depress 37, we had to take the water somewhere. The idea floated around with pumps, but it was expensive in the long run to do that. So we went with 2 drainage lines that one of them goes out to the White River. It outlets to the White River. That's the north line, and the south line outlets to Shoemaker Ditch. I don't know if anyone noticed, but they actually started work on that in 2018. No one knew about it apart from the people that are really close to these big holes. That's one fun fact. One other fun fact is also on 146th Street, when we were drilling the drainage line, they got into a lot of boulders and a lot of rocks.
20, 30 feet down?
20, 30 feet down. It was large boulders that it took them a long time to get through, and that kind of it had us take other measures of changing the type of tunneling itself, from going from one way to the other, just so we can get through those boulders and those huge rocks. So that was something that people didn't really know. about what was going on there. It was underground, so no one knew.
And how big of a tunnel are we talking? Is it something that you could stand up in, or is it
Yeah,
enough just
I mean
for the-
it's about 54 inches.
Okay.
It's almost you can probably crawl in there. You can fit going in
We're
there.
not advising that.
But yeah.
No field trips.
It's pretty deep. We like there was a little tunneling bore pit that was on 146th Street that we went and looked at, and it was deep. Like it was very deep. Major kudos to the contractor that did that work at Midwest Mole.
Okay.
They were really good, and that was one of the fun. That I don't want to say fun, but it was one of the most interesting things that I've seen.
Absolutely, you're
on the
basically
project.
tunneling out like a mini subway.
Yeah,
you know, it's
pretty
kind of
much.
how
Right,
that's
how
what
I
I
envision
picture.
that. Yeah.
And so you're telling me that from 146th Street out to White River, it's just a natural fall of 30, 40
It's
feet?
a gravity. It's
It's
gravity.
gravity
It's
thing.
taking all the water from the future 141st hole, 146, and it takes that all the way to the White River, and it's
Wow.
all gravity. So
Wow.
it's
Amazing.
Yeah. So the maintenance is at least a little bit better than what we could have had if we went with pumps.
Okay. Okay.
How about one from you?
Oh gosh, fun facts. I think one thing we talk about sometimes just internally is, we kind of had this build up to when the kind of major detour was going to happen with 126th, and kind of just the hype of like building into that, and then COVID hit. So it was
Yeah,
like
right.
this weird dynamic of, we were afraid that everyone was going to be screaming at us, and then everything was shut down. So it was kind of
Problem
interesting.
solved.
You were
Yeah.
doing all you were doing all these plans with businesses from a mitigation standpoint, trying to mitigate the impact of their business due to construction.
Yeah.
But during the start of all that, you had a pandemic that hit that
Yeah.
completely turned that upside down.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, okay, everybody had more, kind of impacting their life than just construction. So maybe it gave us all a little more tolerance, but it also gave us an opportunity to know that we needed to support those businesses even more, because not only were we dealing with construction, we were also now dealing with, closures. So
Sure.
it was a time for our stakeholder group really to kind of rally together and see how we could help each other out.
Okay.
So yeah, it was interesting times.
I have a question on a project like this. How does it start? Take me back to the initial plan. Who's the person at what? Who comes up with the idea of what we need to do? We need to redo 37. How does that discussion begin?
So I think that's a good question. We look at, in our engineering department in the city of Fishers, we look at areas that need projects to ease the queues, to ease the traffic jams that happen. And obviously 37 was a big artery in the city of Fishers and Hamilton County that there is backups in each and every intersection. With 31 and Keystone being transformative projects for those areas, the mayor and the commissioners kind of put their heads together and thought, okay, this is a good location to provide access to all of the businesses, access to the residences, and free flow, and not have all of these backups. And it will help, the ease of access of Fishers to everyone coming to visit.
Right.
And it also reflects positively on the county, on Fishers, on Noblesville, that this is, we're thinking ahead, and this is what's going to help spread, the business impact to everyone.
Sure.
So they kind of put their heads together and started with a traffic study on all of the intersections, what would work and what would not work. We looked more in depth on the 146th Street because we wanted everything to be a roundabout interchange. But the traffic on 146th Street was almost as much as the traffic on 37. So looking at the impacts of having a roundabout there, was it going to be beneficial in the long run, or did we have to change the interchange type? So normally when we look at projects like this, we look ahead 20, 30 years ahead and see what the traffic is going to look like and how it impacts the interchange. So we went and did a couple of more iterations of traffic studies on 146th Street, and we came to the conclusion that single point urban interchange, which is what's getting built right now on 146th Street, is the best solution
Okay.
for the 20-year, 30-year projections for the traffic.
And the single point means there's going to be one light? Is that?
Single point urban interchange is pretty much similar to the 465 and Allisonville interchange.
Okay.
So everybody kind of comes into a single point. That's kind of where where the naming came from.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, all the
So
traffic comes to a single
all four
point.
sides essentially.
Yeah,
are-
they come into a single point. However, you get free flow right turn lanes from the ramps, so that doesn't really get impacted at all. Your through lanes and your left turn lanes, those are the ones that have the lights on them. So you can have the through lanes go through, and then the ramps are a red light, and then
Okay.
when the through lanes get stopped, the two left turns kind of go simultaneously, like with each other.
Okay.
So similar to the one on 465, you turn left and you kind of in the same motion, you see the other guy from the other side
Right.
turning left as
Coming
well.
as well,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so that we had a lot of heavy left turn movement in that intersection, so we had to mitigate that with that type of interchange.
Now, how does that impact kind of east and west of 37 then? On 146th Street, like Allisonville, for
Mhm.
example, Allisonville and 146th Street, there's
Right.
a
North and
there's a-
south.
Yeah, there's a four-way stop there.
I think
Is that
I think it helped a lot because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of movements out of the equation.
okay?
It takes your right turn lane. So if you're going east and west and you want to go on northbound, you turn right. It doesn't impact you at all turning right. If you're coming on the ramp from 37 and you want to take a right on 146th Street, your movement is free flow.
Yeah, sure.
So it helps a lot with alleviating a lot of that backup that used to be on 37 and 146th Street. And that takes a lot away of the queuing and the traffic jams that
Sure.
were on 146th Street as well.
Is there any future plans to change those intersections? Allisonville and 146th Street, turn that into a big roundabout?
Hamilton
or
County is
going-
actually working and actively designing a project on 146 in Allisonville right
Okay.
now. So that's going to look similar to 37, but I think they're still finalizing their project
Sure.
right now, but it's going to be a roundabout interchange as well.
Okay.
It might look different than what we have, but it's a roundabout.
So if you're coming east or even going west, I guess on 146th Street, especially during rush hour, it has a tendency to back up at that intersection. So at some
Yeah.
point in the future, that's going to flow.
Yeah, I think
a
they're
lot smoother.
thinking about starting construction next year on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully when that's done, when 37's done, the whole area is going to transform.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good insight.
You were talking about traffic studies. One of the points that we came up with, or we talked about in one of our previous flights, was intersection failure rates.
Mhm.
And what the definition of what that is. And so when you say you did a traffic study, what determines, okay, this intersection is good and this intersection may need some improvement? I mean, what are the rules of thumb on that?
So it's almost when you see something that a rule of thumb without getting into an actual study is that, okay, I'm waiting a lot
Yeah.
in this intersection. There has to be something.
And I'm getting mad.
Yeah,
about it.
I'm getting upset. There's backups that back up all the way to another intersection and impacts another intersection. So
Right.
that's a big red flag. When we start doing the traffic studies, there is acceptable level of services for the types of roadways that we have. So let's say an interstate, you can't have a level of service less than a C on it for your 20 years, or less than a D or something like that. Obviously, level of service F is a failure
Mhm.
on anything. So any movement, and that's what we did on 146th Street, any movement, any traffic pattern that fails, that gets to a level of service of F in any direction, we had to figure out a solution for it. And that's why we did a couple of iterations on 146th Street to take it from a roundabout to a single point interchange.
Okay.
Yeah.
Budget, can we talk budget? Just general numbers? For me, the numbers that come out are like, they're staggering.
Mhm.
And I think the project is running over budget, but what do we know about that?
That's obviously a big discussion point for everyone that's involved in the project. The way the project was done earlier on, and how they came with the conclusion of where we're at now, is we did a lot of studies on how we can not necessarily dig deep.
Mhm.
We can balance the cut and fill portions of all of these intersections. If we did that, that means we're impacting the line of sight from one side to the other, from east side to west side. So if we were to balance it, people on the east side, let's say on 126th Street, if you're on the gas station, you can't see Lockhart.
Right.
Right.
So that was one thing I think the commissioners and the mayor were against. They did not want to have a wall
Right.
go down 37.
And not be able to see.
Yeah, and not be able to see that. So obviously, when we're beginning the project, we put a budget based on what we think is the best, balance between the cut and fill on all these intersections. But then we look more into the impacts to the surrounding businesses and the residents. So we look at that, and we were like, okay, we don't want this to become a wall like 31 when you go up north of 146th Street. There's just a big wall between Target and McDonald's.
Right.
That's one thing that we really did not want on 37.
I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah. No,
But now that you're saying
Yeah.
that, it's like, okay, that I get
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal to the businesses. I mean, Lockhart, Cadillac, if you, like, when 126th Street finished, they had even said, oh my goodness, it's like, it's kind of elevated. The way that you see,
Right.
You
when
see it
you're
better.
driving and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, like with the lights and everything, you have like such a great vantage point on their business. So that piece, like to Hatem's point, the commissioners, that was a really, important piece, is to make sure that we're not blocking, that visibility for businesses that depend on that, for people to know where they are.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if the project is certainly not on the same scale, but when I do a project at home, if I haven't done it before, I know I'm going to run into some things that I just didn't think through, or are different than what I was expecting. What's maybe the one or two biggest things that after the project got started, it was like, we're going to have to rethink this or do this differently than anticipated? Which the boulders, obviously, in the tunneling.
That was
a big one.
That was one example. I think there was one thing that we did on 131st that I think helped us out. There's obviously utilities that cross on 131st Street going across 37. So with our discussions with the utilities, especially specifically the gas, is that they were going to do their own relocation, and this was how much it was going to cost. It was going to cost, I think, over $2 million to do it. And that was going to be done before the contractor gets in and does his work. Usually that's what we like to do. We want the utilities to get out the way first, and then the contractor goes in. So obviously the number was really huge that we started thinking, we're like, okay, that's too much. What can we do in the project that would help them? Because they were, depending on the type of construction, they were going to have lane restrictions anyway. So we thought, okay, why don't we get the contractor in, bid it, have the contractor come in, and instead of starting work on the west side, closing the west side and start digging, we can close the east side, have the traffic move, have the utilities start work on the east side, and vice versa. So have them work here, open cut it, then switch traffic, have them open cut it here, and therefore the utilities don't have to pay for MOT. It's already included in the project,
Okay.
and that MOT's already built in with the phasing of the project. So that means we're taking advantage of them being out there. We don't have to pay the utilities the enormous amount of money because they were in an easement, so we had to pay them to relocate. So in order for them to do all that and reduce a lot of their impact, a lot of their expenses, we decided to take the MOT in our project, and I think we saved over $1 million
Wow.
with just doing that. And the utility was happy because they did it quickly. They did it under budget as well, and the contractor was happy because they just knew where it was, and it wasn't impacting them, and they didn't have to tiptoe around it.
Yeah.
So they knew where it was, and even after that, the utility didn't have to remedy the pavement because the contractor was already gonna
do it.
Yeah, gonna excavate it. So that was cost relief on us on the project as a whole. So we were able to reduce a lot of the costs for the utilities, and it was a great savings on that. So really, really happy we did that. So it was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for putting the pressure on, because usually at home, my apps don't have a budget decrease.
Right.
Next time.
Right. So next time I get a honey-do list, I'm calling.
Call
just-
it Tim.
Just call the
Call
city
Tim.
officials.
I'll
We'll
give
take
you a
care
cell
of
number.
it.
Yeah, what can I do here
Right.
to, what can I move around on
Yeah.
this? How's it going to feel for you personally and professionally, I think, when this is finally complete?
I think I'll be very happy if it's completed on budget, and I say on budget, but on the current budget that we have and on time. That would be a professional accomplishment for myself and also for the city as a whole, because we're responsible for managing this project with a lot of owners and stakeholders involved in it. That obviously is going to reflect well on the city as managing a big project like that. Personally, I'll start looking for a big project in Fishers just to kind of be like, okay, let's change 69. Let's just figure something out. But I think it's we still have a lot of work to do in the city as a whole. There's a whole big east side to the city of Fishers that we need to look at, and also a lot of intersections and projects all around the city that I'm sure there's going to be a lot of work still.
You
Okay.
have plenty to fill your
Yeah.
plate.
Yes,
Okay,
for
okay.
sure.
Fair enough.
Will that day be bittersweet for you when it
It
comes?
will, because I was, like I said, I was intimately involved with the beginning of it, being in the consultant world and having put the first, pen to paper in this
Yeah.
project, and now taking it to the finish line. It's definitely going to be a bittersweet moment.
I can imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keriann,
No,
yeah?
I'm super excited. I mean, it's been really awesome to be a part of a project like this. I've learned a lot from all of, the team. And so, I'm going to go drive. I'm going to drive it, of
Right.
course. Yeah.
55.
And, yeah. Well, I mean, yes. But, I live and work in the community, and 37 has always been a path that, I take, and I have friends that live downtown Indy that, never wanted to drive to our house because it felt like Michigan because it took so long to get there.
Right.
So, and then of course, just getting to know all the businesses and kind of having a relationship with them. I feel like we kind of have that bond now. So I'm always paying attention to what's going on 37. So, but it's going to be great. I'm super excited.
Well, I will give you one last thing from me, the perspective of my 9-year-old son. The first time that we drove underneath 126th Street at nighttime.
Yes, the lights.
And the lights, they thought that was just
Right.
the coolest thing
It
in the
is
world.
cool.
So,
It's awesome.
so the Ernest family expects the same thing at 146th Street.
All of them.
So,
All of them.
And then we can have a light
lights on all of
show.
them.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
And it reduces my time to Chick-fil-A. You know?
there you go. There you go.
But not your time in the Chick-fil-A line.
Right,
Yes.
right.
But I will say, if 126th Street is any indicator of what's to come on the other intersections, I'm super excited. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you to both of you for all, obviously, the
I
work
think
that
everyone's
you
going to
two
be
have
happy with it.
I think so, too.
So
I've got a new marketing idea for you guys. So you should raffle off the opportunity to drive
The
from
first.
the first straight through
That's
route.
a great idea.
Right?
Yep.
Who gets-
Or fly it.
Or fly.
Or fly.
Yeah.
We
You already got it. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm that one might stick.
Yeah.
I'm going to go trademark that idea real quick.
Yeah, you're gonna make us pay for it.
All right. Well, we thank you both for your time
Thank you.
and the information very much. We appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
guys. Thank you.